I've been a wedding makeup artist for 8 years, and this is part 2 of exactly how I would do my wedding makeup if it was my wedding. We left off on blush placement and where to put that on your face and how to apply it, but I am tapping so I'm not disrupting any product underneath. Now, naturally, typically we do have like a little bit of redness if we're going to bronze, kind of where our foundation meets the bronzer. It's kind of like marrying those two together. It's like, here's your normal skin, here's where the sun hits your skin the most, and here's this little touch of red. And I'm using the Westman Atelier blush in Coquette, I don't know, it has like a weird name that I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing right, but I am also just going to really lightly hit my nose, those sides of the forehead, and a little bit of the top of the chin. Because we used a full coverage foundation, it really blanks out our canvas, and we need to kind of add those natural occurring colors that happen in our face and our skin back. Now we're on to concealer, and I am going to be using Tarte Shape Tape. This is my tried and true favorite be all. If you have a more favorite concealer, use it to tap out and really be meticulous again about exactly where this concealer is going. And if you want like that super airbrushed flawless finish, you really need to be tapping all of your products in, which is why we're going over it with the sponge afterwards, because it ensures that everything looks super seamless and super airbrushed. Now, gently patting this in both directions with my makeup sponge. You might have noticed I didn't put concealer anywhere else on my face, and that's because I like to use a little bit of a brighter concealer. This is the Lancome Tint Idole concealer. This is a very moisturizing medium to full coverage concealer, and it's only just a little bit lighter than that Tarte Shape Tape I was using. I don't want things to be too bright, but this is more hydrating, so I would rather use this in these other areas and also add just a little bit to my under eye to make it a little bit brighter. And I'm going in straight with a sponge on this one because we already have concealer. I don't need that much coverage. I want it to be kind of light. Upon blending that under eye out, like immediately, if you do anything in between, go back under there and make sure you're buffing out those creases. And then we're going to go in with a powder puff and not a brush. And the reason for this is because we can really afford to use pressure and push this powder into those under eyes, which is what I'm doing. This is the Huda Beauty powder in the shade Pound Cake. So I'm using this under my eyes specifically and really pushing that in. And that's what's going to give me that super flawless, seamless under eye. Like, that's good. Pushing that powder in with the powder puff is what is going to give us that longevity. It's going to make sure it's super set and nothing is moving, and it allows us to apply a little bit more pressure. And notice I'm like avoiding where I applied my blush and my bronzer, because you could, if you're super oily, go over all of your face with powder, and I'd probably suggest it if you really are that oily, and then go in with your powder, blush, and bronzer. But because I can lean somewhat normal to dry, I'm actually just going to go over those areas with my powder, blush, and bronzer to set it around my nose with a little bit of powder. I feel like this contours my nose in a much more natural, subtle way. And you can also set underneath your contour before we go in. And whenever we start to add those bronzers to the skin and that blush, it's going to kind of mix with the powder and almost be a mixing medium to make everything. Think of it like your crease color, like you know how you lay down your crease color in the crease of your eye. This powder already being on your skin is going to help to create that medium middle ground for your powdered bronzer and blush. So I'm going to use the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer with a nice light fluffy brush, and I'm going to make sure to coat my brush pretty good here and tap it off. That way I'm not getting any skipping. And what I'm going to do is gently tap the area that I want to bronze until I feel like it's set, and then I can go in and kind of swipe and wipe and blend, because once it's a powder, you can blend without getting like those streaks or really taking off too much product. But before that, you're risking getting streaks and lines. And then we have no harsh lines. Everything looks nice and blended, but also structured, you guys. I take whatever is left and kind of dust this on the edges of like where I would want my nose contoured, and it helps me to dust off some of that powder. For powder blush, I have said this so many times, and I feel like Milani doesn't even know this, so Milani, if you're watching, hey girl! I love your Luminosa blush, and I have said for years in multiple videos that I will be using this on my wedding day. So here we are with the Milani Luminosa blush. I'm putting this on a fluffy brush and just tapping this on where I want the most concentration, and then lightly kind of dusting it all around to get that nice gradiented blend. It's the perfect wedding blush. A good rule of thumb for where you're putting these products is, where did we put the cream products? That's kind of where I'm going to touch and kiss with those powder products, just very, very lightly to kind of add those natural colors we see in our skin already back to the face and the skin. I'm gonna use a little bit of this Kimchi Chic Puff Puff Pass powder. It is a lilac brightening powder and it is brightening, okay? She is bright. So I'm gonna use a brush. I was struggling to find, this is dense but also fluffy, like it's somewhere in the middle. And I'm gonna just use the teensiest bit of this powder on this brush and tap that just where I want my brightening effect. And you're gonna see it just brighten up that corner so subtly. If you use a lot of this, it will really brighten. I really just want that brightening effect though. I don't wanna have like the too much powder. Like I don't wanna have a cakey under eye. Just makeup that lasts is makeup that's a lot is used, basically, that's it. For my under eye, I'm gonna use the same NARS Laguna bronzer that we used in our crease on the upper portion of our eyes. I'm gonna use a small brush so that I have a little bit more control here. And I'm gonna just start placing this underneath my eye and attaching it to that outer corner. And I'm not gonna pull it all the way in because I want the definition to be on this outer part of my eye, and it just completes the look so quickly. Like, just the difference between my eyes, it already looks so much more complete. So just a little bit of a lighter shade you can see here, and I'm just going to touch and kiss the edges of that bronzer. Next, we're going to add mascara, so we have a nice base for our lashes. Don't forget those bottom lashes. Unless you're just like absolutely a blank under eye girly, I'm telling you, it's just gonna add something to your face that you probably are missing. For lips, I take off the mask and I'm going to use the Huda Beauty lip liner in Terracotta. This lip liner lasts so well and that's why I'm using it. Then I'm going to use the Anastasia Lip Velvet in the shade Pure Hollywood here. Always bring your lip stuff for a touch. Running out of time, but I'm going to put on lashes and I'm going to set with the Urban Decay Stay Naked. I'm going to seal with the One Size Waterproof Fits All. I'm going to add a little bit of my freckles back because that's just personally what I like to gloss. Lily Lashes Half Lash.